What is going on, Amazon sellers? Happy Sunday, and welcome back to the weekly show where we share some news and answer your guys' questions. I'm Chris Grant, and to my right is my hip anthropomorphic co-host, Chris Rasick. Now, for those of you who might be new here, our job is to try to make your life a little bit easier as an Amazon seller. Maybe you've got questions about flipping items, retail arbitrage. Perhaps you want to learn about pulling the trigger on some online arbitrage. Maybe you want to dive into wholesale, or you've just got a Keepa quandary that's keeping you up at night. Well, we're here to help. We'll also share some stats, some news stories, and today a business maxim to try to help you be a little bit of a better business owner. Let's dive in, Chris. I'm surprised you showed up. I figured you'd be a little jet lagged from hanging out in Italy with Jeff and the other 200 celebrities that showed up for his wedding.
Yeah, I dried the tears. Such a beautiful ceremony. No, I was not invited. Instead, I didn't do it, but my family went to. Have you heard of? I think it's called Swimply. Basically, yes. You can rent out swimming pools, like short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had my wife and the girls had a friend of theirs that rented a pool for about 3 hours. So they actually went swimming in some swanky house up north. Pretty neat concept. I had to dig into it and look at it. Probably not. I don't know how popular it would be in Florida since so many people have pools, but
I have been getting emails and advertisements to sign up as a vendor on Swimply for like 2 years. But I have no idea. I looked through like pools in my area and I was like, that mine is not gonna make the cut. So I never, that and my wife, as soon as I was like, hey, you want to make a little extra scratch, letting weird strangers swim in our pool, and that was an instant decline.
Right. I get it. I get that. Yeah. It is interesting. There's even somebody around here that has their above ground pool for rent on the side, which
there's a particular audience that probably would prefer an above ground pool. So I get it.
Yeah.
Hey, Luke, Lynn, glad to see you guys. We've got a fair amount of news and a little bit of a business maxim today. Luke, you're absolutely right. You're gonna need some extra chlorine. My pool is salt water. I don't know how to get the germs from the errant Band-Aid that always shows up when someone else swims in your pool, even though there was no Band-Aid visible on their body.
Right.
A Band-Aid shows up. But if you guys have questions, make sure to drop them in the chat. We'll make sure to get to them and answer any questions you guys have about Amazon or anything else that we are probably not qualified to answer for you. But we've got some news. It's going to be a little Walmart heavy today. Walmart is opening some new stores, but none of us are ever going to see the inside. These are called dark stores. Physical Walmart locations that look like a typical store, both on the outside and on the inside, but no customers. The first dark store quietly opened up in Dallas, and another one is going to be coming to Bentonville, Arkansas, the home of Walmart. And their purpose is just faster online fulfillment. These stores are going to be stocked with Walmart's most popular e-commerce products, and they're going to be optimizing them for speed. No signage, no distractions, just pick, pack, and ship as quickly as humanly possible. And this is a direct response to Amazon's dominance in e-commerce logistics. Walmart now, they've got a growing Walmart Plus membership base, which I was surprised by this number, but they're up to 34.7 million. I actually became a Walmart Plus member over the weekend. They're up from 26.5 million in 2022. But of course, that is a far cry from Amazon's 180 plus million Prime members just in the United States. Walmart's e-commerce sales are up 21% year over year in fiscal year quarter one of fiscal year 2025. It's also their first time being profitable in e-commerce ever. Uh, Delivery in under 3 hours is up 91% year over year. And they have a goal to reach 95% of US homes with sub 3 hour delivery eventually. Now, these mini warehouses disguised as stores are meant to, of course, help them get there. And Luke, I'm right with you. Why don't they just call it a warehouse or a fulfillment center? Who knows? They've got this whole store thing down. So I guess that's part of the reason. But this move is also part of a broader tech acceleration strategy that's including AI tools for store employees, including real time translation and item finding AR or augmented reality. That can't come soon enough because the only times I ever ask somebody for help at Walmart and ask them where things are, they just kind of point in a general direction, and it's usually the wrong way. They've also got drone deliveries into 5 major metro areas right now. And then, of course, they're offering some Walmart Plus assist pricing for those who are on SNAP, WIC, or Medicaid to be able to get access to same day and sub 3 hour delivery. This is kind of Walmart's version of a flywheel. It is Walmart's flywheel. Stores feed fulfillment, dark stores speed it up. Drones and AI are meant to lower costs. Delivery improves. They, in turn, want that to turn into more Walmart Plus signups. And then, of course, that cycle continues. And this is just another signal in the shift to how retail giants like Walmart, like Amazon, are viewing real estate. They're not just worried about stores and physical locations, they want distribution hubs in prime geographic areas. And we are seeing this with Amazon as well. Amazon spending $4 or $5 billion to speed up their not urban, but not suburban, rural. There's the word, rural delivery. And we also have to remember 90% of Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart. So if they start tacking on these miniature distribution centers to their existing stores, carrying the top 500 or top 1,000 SKUs, Walmart's got a huge advantage for the last mile. So I find this interesting. I don't know how well they pull it off, but it is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting that the speed aspect is probably the highlight of this article. I have to imagine. I assume that Walmart would accelerate the speed factor and try to compete with Amazon through their existing stores. So this article kind of surprised me overall. When I saw it, but I guess if they use it correctly, it could become a testing ground, for different methods. The drone is interesting, and also probably the key factor is that 3 hour delivery, because that I'm part of that 91%. That I think I'm about 50-50 on whether I use the 3 hours or less feature. They squeeze an extra $3 out of me, but sometimes that is well worth it, depending on what I've run out of or what I need, or how long I've put off a shopping trip. So yeah, and then the profitability is worth noting, because I can't help but go back to our conversation with Paul Rafelson when he talked about the different CEOs within Walmart, and how the CEO of brick and mortar was the golden child of the CEOs, and e-commerce was the redheaded stepchild in the analogy. Now that they're profitable, I do wonder if that wing of the Walmart corporate umbrella is a little bit more favorable to the highest of the higher ups.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. How much do they need to prove themselves, to get away from the kids' table, or to be told to be quiet and speak when spoken to at the board meetings, and actually be able to bring some ideas to the table. That's interesting. Now, I'm going to throw out what I think is a crazy idea. I would imagine the people at Walmart have already talked about this, but I'm wondering why they're doing this. You said, why don't they just use their current, physical storefronts, which I'd like to think they've thought about. And my thought was, well, they've got so much that they've got to keep in the back room to stock just the store itself. And some Walmarts, at least the ones I know of, like there's no room to expand. I'm thinking of the Walmart that's near me. Like it's backed up against it's in kind of a strip center, and it's backed up against the freeway. Like there's no room to expand. But is the cost to go vertical in their current stores too high? Could they not build a second story, that's got a helipad on it to hold some inventory and deliver from there? I'm curious.
Yeah, I almost think that this might serve as a inventory supplement center as well for the brick and mortar places. Because I know I actually one of the pathways that I end up driving here at the house goes past the back of a Walmart, and I know during Q4 they do have a lot of trailers and temporary storage that they start stacking up in the back of the Walmart. So I wonder if maybe that offsets the cost, if maybe a dark store close enough to a handful, supplants the need to rent temporary storage at the store too.
It's a good question. Good question. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm still not like all in on Walmart like a lot of people are, and especially right now with the number of sellers dwindling on Amazon. But it's going to be fascinating to see what happens over the next couple of years. I know we've said that multiple times, but all right. And guys, just a reminder, if you have questions, make sure to drop them in the chat. Like we want to answer those for you guys as well. Now, another piece of Walmart news. Walmart just delivered Amazon some bad news. Walmart just beat Amazon at its own game with Amazon Prime members. So according to new data from CoreSite Research, nearly 60% of Amazon Prime members said they bought groceries online from Walmart in the past year. Meanwhile, only 52% of those same Prime members ordered groceries from Amazon, whether that was via Amazon.com, Amazon Fresh, or Whole Foods. On the flip side of things, 79% of Walmart Plus members bought groceries online from Walmart in that same window. And the reason this has even made news is because Amazon has long wanted to crack the grocery market. They bought Whole Foods in 2017 for $13.7 billion. Although it is interesting, I heard John Mackey, who is the founder of Whole Foods, really interesting guy, say that had he, this is the power of a really good podcast. John Mackey said that if he had access to the Founders podcast by David Senra when he was still the CEO of Whole Foods, he never would have sold. But Amazon also launched Amazon Fresh and same-day grocery delivery, and they've recently enabled multi-store grocery checkout. So you can buy from Amazon Fresh, Whole Foods, and Amazon.com in one single order, where you used to not be able to do that. But despite all that firepower, Walmart is still winning. And the question is why? Well, Walmart's got some serious advantages. We just talked about their massive physical footprint. 90% of Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart. They've got omni-channel grocery infrastructure, curbside pickup, local fulfillment, and delivery at scale. People trust them for fresh food. Consumers are more comfortable buying meat, produce and dairy from Walmart. And then, of course, they've got new store upgrades coming. Walmart's store of the future plans include sushi stations. Seems like just a step up from gas station sushi, in my opinion. They're going to have fresh tortilla makers and Hispanic bakeries targeting experience and loyalty. And there's been an interesting shift. Walmart's actually now pulling in more affluent shoppers. Data from Brick Meets Click shows Walmart grocery growth is increasingly driven by higher income households, which is a customer segment that Amazon has long assumed that it just owned. This means Walmart is keeping its base, it's expanding up market, and it's building that moat with Walmart Plus. And like I said, I've recently just joined Walmart Plus. I will have to say, the first 2 grocery deliveries have not been stellar. So I'm hoping it gets better.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of I'm kind of at odds at this article. I think they're kind of they're presenting it as news when I think it's kind of old news. I think it's just fresh data. Walmart taken. I mean, there's nothing to take from Amazon's grocery segment, right? I mean, that's a part that Amazon has not been able to crack. So, and I think Whole Foods was probably not the right purchase. It probably wasn't the launching pad into grocery that Amazon was hoping it would be. I would never shop at a Whole Foods. I think customers on Amazon are looking for bargains primarily. So I don't think there's as much crossover with people wanting, $9 organic non-GMO blueberries. So I think it's more of the I'll take the pesticide covered $3 a pound blueberries instead. I think so. I don't know, but that's obviously just a guess. But but we've kind of touched on this before. Grocery is interesting. There was an article quite a while ago that stated that Target struggles. That grocery was the biggest mistake that Target made as to why they're losing market share. They didn't embrace grocery enough and expand fast enough with their stores. So it's obviously a hot topic. I think it's Walmart's. Walmart is the king of grocery. I think the affluent part of it is probably just the ability to have the stuff delivered, right? I mean, once it gets out, that you can pay what is Walmart Plus, $99 a year?
Yeah, I think if you pay the whole year, it's something like $99 a year.
Yeah, something like that. So you do some quick math. The affluent people, the fees on something like Instacart they're gonna pass $99 pretty quick, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I already have. Because I like Publix, and of course I want to have groceries delivered, but the price difference between Instacart and going in store, it's too much to handle.
Yeah, and then the price between Publix and Walmart too. So you've got multiple layers of added cost to that. So I mean, it's just kind of a smart decision. Just being able to have groceries delivered is well worth it for a lot of people, I would imagine. So I don't know. Amazon, the fact that people trust fresh food, fresh meat from Walmart more than Amazon, absolutely. Even being an Amazon seller, I mean, how much expired inventory have they all of a sudden found and then listed it back for sale for you, and then you get some bad feedback that needs removed, because it got lost in a fulfillment center for a year. Yeah, I mean, it'll be quite a while before I trust fresh food being delivered from Amazon. So
100%. Yeah. All right. This next piece, we talked about back to school season being earlier and earlier, but there's more data out about back to school season, and the fact that back to school buyers are still going to be spending money this year and willing to, it seems. So despite tariffs, despite inflation, despite these recession worries, American parents are still going to be opening up their wallets for back to school shopping in 2025. According to PwC's latest consumer survey, 73% of parents expect to spend the same or more than last year. 1 in 3 plan to spend more than they did in 2024. And of course, technology is the top priority, with 25% of parents planning to spend over $500 on tech alone. Um, this is just this is why Michael Burry is betting on the American consumer, because of this surprising resilience in discretionary spending, even as what a lot of people say are household budgets being under pressure. But there are some interesting things. AI is showing up as a shopping tool even more than it has in the past. 1 in 5 shoppers say that they plan on using AI tools to try to find back to school deals this year. Which I thought I was a little underwhelmed by that number. 20% is lower than I'd like to see, I think. Tech and apparel are going to be dominating the checkout button. Tech equals the top spend priority this year at 25%, and only 42% will spend less than $50 on tech this year. Clothing and shoes, of course, come in second place. 16% of shoppers plan to spend $500 or more here as well. Of course, parents are still looking to stretch their budget. 37% say they only plan to buy items on sale. Guarantee back to school stuff is going to be massive for Prime Day. 34% plan to reuse previous year's supplies. I wish. I have no idea what happened to them. And 32% plan to spend less but buy similar items. And then hybrid shopping is still king. Millennials, 71%, and Gen X, 73%, plan to lean heavily online. Gen Z, 27% of Gen Z shoppers and 30% of boomers prefer in-store only, which I thought that number was pretty high for Gen Z. And of course, income bands. Higher income, or people with $75,000 a year or more in income, are 2 times more likely to shop online. And lower income families, or those below 75,000 in income, are 2 times more likely to shop exclusively in store. So I think back to school is going to be bigger than it ever was this year, which is not really a hard thing to say.
Yeah, I think it's a necessity, really, because of the tech factor, right? You know, it's my parents never had to buy replacement charging cords for Chromebooks. You know, students and the learning process is getting more digital, which I think it's inevitable that, I think that goes hand in hand with getting more expensive. So the income bands is kind of interesting, because higher income families are 2 times more likely to shop online. I think that's because convenience is cost, it has a price, and higher income people are more willing to pay it. So that made a lot of sense to me. I do like the old soul qualities of Gen Z that we keep reading about, though.
Yeah.
They're they want to do it the old fashioned way and shop in store. That was a pretty high number. That kind of makes me smile.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going out and buying film cameras. They're, shopping in store. It's kind of nice to see that. I hope that sticks around for a while.
And it's, in case you haven't in case you're not aware of your surroundings, this is our last show before Q3.
It is. Yeah.
So, and it's very, very clear, just if nothing else, by how many times we've talked about back to school already, that back to school is going to be the Q3 anchor. And it's going to kind of draft us into Q4. So, if you've been a little bit slow, if you're letting the summer heat kind of let your mentality dull a little bit, you might want to start kind of circling the wagons and getting things up to speed, because now's the time that you can start making some serious money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Great. Maurice, we'll get to your question. EB, we'll get to your question as well. And guys, last reminder here, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. We will get to those. On Sundays, we like to talk business maxims or a razor or some sort of law that you can use in your business. And I came across one this weekend that I thought was interesting. And it is called the status quo bias or the inaction bias. And this is kind of a do nothing trap is what it is. And it can be kind of this invisible killer of arbitrage businesses, of any business, really. Sellers get stuck. Okay. They see a problem. They might even know the answer, but maybe they don't pull the trigger. And the question is why? Well, there's fear, there's fatigue, there's indecision, or worse, sometimes there's just comfort. Psychologically, we often avoid action because it takes effort. Maybe we're scared of losses, and we think staying still is safer than actually making the wrong move. But on Amazon or in any business, really, doing nothing is a decision as well. And it often costs more than doing something imperfectly. So what does this look like in an arbitrage business? Well, maybe it is stale sourcing routines. You get comfortable, keep hitting the same stores. Maybe you just scan the exact same aisles. Maybe you don't try anything new at all. Meanwhile, there are better deals in a bunch of other places, but you haven't updated your sourcing playbook since 2022. There's also inventory paralysis. Maybe you've got bad buys collecting dust at Amazon. It's time to liquidate, but you just keep that hope alive that it's still going to turn around. Chances are it's probably not. You're just holding inventory and you're in the sunk cost fallacy. We date our inventory, we don't marry it. There could also be repricing apathy. You'll lose the buy box and then you just wait. You see other competitors sell out and you just don't adjust. An easy fix would be, Corey, a smart repricer. But again, learning a new tool sounds like work. So you stick with the status quo. Fear of scaling may show up in your business. You could hire a prepper. You could build SOPs. You could train a virtual assistant and replicate yourself. You could go out and find 3 new wholesalers or 3 new sources too. But you don't, because it's easier not to. Now, on the back of all of this, there actually might be times where inaction is the right move. Okay. Sometimes not doing anything is the smart move, like not chasing every single lead and maybe overbuying and damaging cash flow. Maybe there is some short-term volatility that you see play out, and often things will come back to their baseline. The key difference, though, is that you need to be strategic about it. There is strategic inaction, but most sellers aren't doing that. Okay, so how do you beat this do-nothing tendency that honestly we all have? This is a psychological bias of most people. Well, number one, you can set deadlines. All right. Every sourcing or inventory decision needs to have a decision time to it. Heck, set up a chess clock, and don't take any more than what you set when you're sourcing. Run experiments. This is something that a lot of people don't want to do because they might lose money. You don't have to overhaul your entire business. You can test small. Okay. You want to try a new repricer, only test it on 2 or 3 ASINs. You want to try a new sourcing tactic, only test it with $100 or $200 worth of sourcing capital. Try something for 1 week. If it doesn't work, you can always go back. These are called one-way or two-way doors. Okay, we may want to stay away from one-way door decisions, but two-way door decisions, means there's no consequence if things don't work out. Try to use automation. You can use tools like repricers to make sure that you're eliminating friction from actually getting your items repriced. Now, of course, those need to be monitored. You can't just let even the best repricer sit idle. You can liquidate. And if you're sitting on inventory that's 4, 5, 6 months old and it's not a long-term hold on purpose, you need to get rid of that stuff. Sell it, even if it's at a loss, to get some of that in or some of that capital back so you can reinvest that into better product. Track what you're doing every single week. Okay. What cannot be measured cannot be managed, right? How many new storefronts did you stock? How many new ASINs did you look at? How much inventory did you sell through? Like, measure all of these things, and it'll give you a lot more data about your business and allow you to make better decisions. Join a group. Community typically will breed some action. You're going to see other people taking action. You're going to want to do it as well. All right. And then, of course, you can utilize the Hawthorne effect. I actually spoke with Chris about this not too long ago, but there's this psychological phenomenon that occurs when individuals modify their behavior, typically by increasing their effort or productivity, simply because they're aware that they're being observed. Okay. Now, if you work at home like we do, that might be a little bit difficult. My wife does not want to sit here and watch me over the shoulder as I work all day to make sure that I'm being productive. However, you could hop on a Zoom with some friends and make sure to leave cameras on and actually do the work. Heck, you could even screen share if you want some serious accountability. And I talked with Chris about this not too long ago because we did something very similar. Chris was in Florida visiting, and we were working in the same place, and it was just it was nice to actually put my head down and get some work because I had someone watching over my shoulder. All right. Bottom line is, if you want to grow your business, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Walmart, whether it's something else, you've got to take some action. And even slow action is okay, but it beats being stagnant and not doing anything.
Yeah. This one, Lounge Zinger, I'm with you. It's like he's reading right out of my head. This is something I've been thinking a lot about. It's been top of mind for several weeks now. Basically, the strategic inaction that you were talking about, it needs to be by choice. That's basically what this comes down to is even strategic inaction is taking action, because you've decided that waiting something out is going to be better in the long run. So there's no getting around that. It comes down to taking action. Think about your death pile. How many of us have stuff that's sitting here that came back from Amazon or came back from wherever, and it's not listed anywhere. I've had, it's amazing when I start liquidating my death pile, how much better I feel about my business overall, and just, you're taking a loss but for some reason it feels different than liquidating on Amazon, because I think when you liquidate it on Amazon, you basically have accounting software that tells you the loss, so you see the negative number. But if it's actually sent back to your house, you're going to see a positive number on eBay or Mercari or whatever it is. So it must be a psychological effect or something, because the loss is actually bigger if it actually gets here and I sell it on eBay, probably most of the time. But it feels a heck of a lot better to clear this stuff out. And not to mention organization. I saw Jordan, Jordan had a video on Instagram the other day about cleaning his desk, and I was like, man, that's absolutely, I rearranged my room, and there's a lot of parts of this office are a lot neater than they've been in quite some time, and far less dusty than they've been for a long time. So, and it feels good. So this is and you know what, and we should mention, if you're not aware, there is a new podcast episode out. It's for introverts specifically, and how that is in a lot of cases actually a superpower. Fist pump, quiet fist pump. If you're not on camera, of course, being an introvert. But I forgot. I caught bits and pieces, just kind of going back through it because I wanted to see what we talked about, and it's been in the can for a while. But we talk about some stuff there, and we talk about social media and talking about it, and giving strategies for introverts to be more active on social media. And like you mentioned, join a group. That's another way you can do it, is by talking on social media. You're going to make connections and whatnot, and it can all be done even as an introvert. Don't think of it as something that you can't do. We talked about it specifically for the introverted crowd. So that's another way to hold yourself accountable, is to put stuff out there, put questions out there. We talk about not approaching social media as an expert or an authority. There are ways to do it where you can talk and you can just wonder in public. Just say, hey, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what the effect of this move will be. We're always talking about news. We're coming to you with pieces of relevant news twice a week here. Hopefully you're subscribed to our newsletters. We're hitting you with news there, and you can take a piece of news, and the questions that pop up in your head can be written down, and posted on social media. And it can be kind of interesting and helpful to get responses and make those connections simply by throwing something out there and admitting that you don't know. I wonder if it'll have an effect on this or that, or there are ways to do it passively, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's you need to go listen to that episode. It is. I was surprised at the feedback from the episode. It was something that was interesting to us, and that's why we made it. I didn't expect there to be people who were like, oh, you know what? I kind of needed to hear this. But I hope people do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take some questions. There's not a whole lot, but if you've got a question, we'd love to answer it for you. Let's see here. Here we go. EB. So does inbound placement fees differ between categories? I'm trying to come up with an average set amount for placement fee to use for product cost in Inventory Lab. No, it is not different between categories. It's different between sizes. So for example, small standard maximum size is 15 by 12 by 0.75 inches. If it's 16 ounces or less, it's between 16 cents and 30 cents. If it's large standard, which is a max of 18 by 14 by 8, for 12 ounces or less, you're looking for anywhere between 18 cents and 34 cents. And so I'm not really sure that you can use like an average set amount. The best thing you could probably do is use some sort of calculator. I believe Seller Amp has these fees built in, or should have them built in. RevSeller has them built in, and you can choose whether it's east, west, or whatever, because there's a difference in inventory placement fees between where you actually ship your items. East just seems to be cheaper all the time. West is more expensive. I haven't checked Central to know what those are. But those fees are all over the place. The best you could do if you have to use an average number is you're going to want to use the largest number you possibly can. And then everything else is going to be kind of just a cream on top. So I know some people who just use $1 when they're sourcing, and that's super high.
Or, you can also kind of reverse engineer the number, can't you? Especially if you're shipping largely the same items. If you have a significant percentage of replenishables, you could probably take the historical numbers and project those forward to get a more accurate number, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm. Maurice, what's the ideal target for inventory sell-through rate? Curious to know if you had 100 active ASINs, what percentage of those ASINs sell daily? I don't know if there is a right answer to this, because I think it would really depend on so many things. But I know what Amazon wants. Amazon wants it to be between 1.5 and 3 sell-through rate. So that means you're turning your inventory at 3, you're turning your inventory over 36 times a year. At a 2, you're turning it over 24 times a year. And that's kind of what Amazon wants. That's where you're in the green. If you go above that, they put you into kind of a yellow territory where maybe you're selling too fast, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense since Amazon does not want to store inventory. So I don't quite understand that. But I like to be at 2.5 or so. I think that's a pretty solid place as long as it's not damaging your margins, because you can increase velocity by cutting what you make, of course. And so there's this healthy balance that needs to be there. 888, as a complete beginner, is it best to use a 3PL or FBA, not able to house any products? Any course suggestions? Okay, so there's going to be a bit of a difference in the Amazon space. Chances are you're not going to be able to get a 3PL. And well, let's start a little further back. There are things called 3PLs. They will handle logistics for usually D2C companies or direct-to-consumer companies, brand owners, things like that. Some of those 3PL companies may also do inbound for Amazon, okay? And then there's something called prep centers. Those are kind of middlemen for Amazon sellers where they're going to receive your inventory, prep your inventory, and send it off to Amazon for you to allow FBA to handle it. I don't know that many sellers are going to be the size that would warrant using a 3PL and having inventory stored at a third-party logistics center in multiple places across the country. And I don't know how many places are going to want to, how many 3PLs, third-party logistics carriers, are going to want to deal with the number of SKUs that someone doing OA may have. If you're a wholesale seller, maybe that'd be different. You're going 500 to 1,000 deep across 20 or 30 SKUs. But if you're going 10 to 20 deep across 500 SKUs, I don't think they'd want to deal with that. So chances are it's probably going to be easier and cheaper to utilize a prep center and Amazon's fulfillment by Amazon, FBA. Plus, you'll probably increase your buy box share and things like that. So that's the way that I would do it if you cannot absolutely house any products on your own. Am I off there, Chris?
No, I think that's spot on.
All right. And any course suggestions? Well, number one, you need to go to Amazon and you need to take Amazon Seller University. You can find that at seller.amazon.com. You need to learn all the things that Amazon wants from you directly from them. Okay. Do not go to the seller forums. All right. I just don't waste your time. It is just it is a cesspool of misinformation and complaining. Occasionally you might luck out and find something helpful, but I don't know that it's worth your time. After Amazon Seller University, go over to YouTube University. We've got tons of podcasts on the Clear the Shelf channel. There are a lot of other videos that are out there on how to source and things like that. You're going to have to wade through some things that maybe aren't so good, but there's a lot of good information out there. After that, if you really still want a course, We have one called the OA Challenge. I think it is best in class, in my opinion, if you want to learn how to source and things like that. But also get into Twitter, get into some Facebook groups, and ask very specific questions when you get stuck on something. And then finally, take a little bit of action. Whether it's $100 or $500 or whatever it is, take a little bit of a risk on yourself and send in some inventory and see how the process works. Because you're never going to learn more than when you've got a little bit of scratch on the line. Yeah, EB, the death pile's got to go this year. Yeah, absolutely. Lynn, should one get a separate LLC for a Walmart store than your FBA account? You don't have to. No, I don't think it's necessary. Some people may want to just to keep things separate. May not be a bad idea if you want to get some more credit cards and really run some things up. If you're doing some credit card hacking or anything like that, that may be one of the best reasons for it to do a separate LLC. But when it comes to accounting or anything like that, I don't find it necessary.
Or you could rack up some serious points with sign-up bonuses, having your one company refer the other and vice versa, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Sadiq. Yeah, 2 to 2.5. I think that's solid. And yeah, Luke is spot on. If you're doing OA, they have special needs when you're using a prep center. There's a bit more to it. There's a lot more prep and things like that compared to wholesale sellers. However, I used to do retail arbitrage to a prep center, and honestly, I'm surprised they ever wanted to touch that stuff. There was always clearance stickers, and they hated it when I showed up with bags of Ollie's stuff.
Did you see the article about? I saw a follow-up article on the Ollie's credit card. Did you see how popular that is?
Is it really?
Yeah. And it's and apparently people are using it outside of Ollie's. Like, they made it a Visa card that could be used, and you rack up Ollie's points. Maybe we're spoiled just by how easily we can rack up Ollie's points and just be swimming in coupons if you go there on the regular. But yeah, it's pretty popular according to the article that I read.
Yeah, that's interesting. It doesn't surprise me. I would like to know what their approval rate is. That's something I'd be curious about.
I think it's pretty high because I think they went with I hadn't heard of the servicer. So I think they kind of specialize in, not top tier credit, might be the alt A category, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. I went to Walgreens the other day and they tried to get me to get their credit card. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There's you guys ship my orders if I buy with your credit card, and then I'll do it.
Yeah, really. It does have pretty nice point accumulation. At least it did when they rolled it out last time I noticed. But yeah, I mean the state of Walgreens right now with the percentage. Unfortunately, the percentage of your orders that ship out and the quantities that you ordered is not 100%, and doesn't seem anywhere close to it.
Right. Luke, I appreciate this, man. The OA challenge is absolutely the best. Forget wading through outdated info on YouTube. I do appreciate that. Lounger, how much RA do you guys do these days? I've neglected it for years now, and I keep thinking of going back. Almost zero for me, which is unfortunate. Heck, I even pay for a retail arbitrage lead list. A lot of it's out of respect because the guy is just an animal. But it's also something that I keep meaning to do, and it's something that's going to be on the table. Retail arbitrage deserves a renaissance. I remember back in the day, I mean, retail arbitrage was so popular. I was selling KDC scanners that I bought from a liquidator for about $35 a piece, and KDC scanners, which are the Cadillac of scanners for retail arbitrage, were going for $175 a pop to other Amazon sellers. And no, I do not feel bad about that markup. It was what the market was willing to pay, and I was bringing a product to the market at a cheaper price than they were selling for on Amazon. But there were even people who had like Nintendo Power Gloves with scanners on them. Like it was fantastic back in the day. But retail arbitrage still just quietly crushes. You know, we've got podcasts with Kim and Perry Coughlin, who do upwards of $13 million a year, 99% retail arbitrage. We know of $30 and $40 million retail arbitrage sellers. We did a podcast with Jassim. He's $100 million seller. They do retail arbitrage across like 6 different states with warehouses in each state. They do OA and wholesale and some private label. Just absolutely crushing it. Retail arbitrage is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's slept on. You know, we talked about at the beginning of the year, you know, we were very bullish on retail arbitrage. However, I'm doing close to 0% myself, unfortunately. And honestly, it has to do with, or at least that's what makes the maximum that we talked about that much more important. Because I kind of, it's a little bit of Murphy's Law. Am I getting that right? You talked about Hawthorne, but I'm convinced that, you know, I haven't found a way to find the time. You know, I really do want to. I think it's an opportunity. Nobody's teaching it, but yet, you know, I know exactly what my routine would be, and I could probably build out thousands of dollars a week in spend, just going, you know, based on where I would go if I thought I had the time to do RA, you know. And that's why, you know, when we talked about, you know, inaction, you know, it's like I need to get more efficient. That's why I like talking about this stuff, because I'm talking to myself. You know, I'm trying to teach myself better methods, because, you know, you kind of let your tasks, you know, the Murphy's Law, you know, the task is going to expand to the time allotted, at the time that you give it to be completed, you know. So it works in when Chris talked about, you know, shorter deadlines, that shorter deadlines, another good thing about shorter deadlines is not only do you get it done and it forces you to take action, it also creates room for more tasks. You know, I think a lot of us kind of get stuck in our processes, and it's like, okay, well, this is when I do this, and this is when I do this. You know, if you sped it up a little bit, you could create pockets of time to get more done. So that's why, yeah, I'm jealous of people crushing RA, because I want to do it, and I know it's out there, and I'm still trying to figure out a way to carve that into my schedule.
Yeah, I'm even more guilty. I've got someone who I just need to train to go out and do shopping already lined up, you know, and I haven't made the time to do that. And I live in Central Florida. I mean, we've got TJ Maxx, we've got Ross, we've got buy one get one at Publix and Winn-Dixie. We've got Ollie's, and we have outlets galore. Like, it's insane the opportunity that's here. Here in Central Florida. Like, I just gotta make it happen. I need to put myself on a deadline. 888. I put aside 1,500 to start. What would be more realistic to start, OA or wholesale? You could start either with $1,500. It would be a little low with wholesale. It's going to be tough. Online arbitrage, in my opinion, is going to be your best bet here. It's going to give you more reps. Okay. You're going to learn what the process of selling on Amazon is like. 'Cause online arbitrage and wholesale really are not that different than each other than one is a sales job and selling stuff on Amazon, and the other one is just clicking buttons and then selling stuff on Amazon. Online arbitrage is going to have a lower barrier to entry because you're not going to have to make phone calls. You're not going to have to get people to do business with you or anything like that. You just got to buy some stuff and send it into Amazon. It'll allow you to learn the process faster, see what sells, see what doesn't sell, see where your mistakes are. And when it comes to wholesale, you've got to make the phone calls, then you've got to meet the minimum order quantity, which, and some people will be like, oh, well, if you can't buy 500 units, nobody's going to do business with you. That's not true. There are places out there that'll let you buy $250 worth of inventory as your minimum order quantity. They're harder to find, but they do exist. Okay. And then the other thing is you can take if you really have to get into wholesale, which I'm not gonna neg wholesale here. Like, wholesale is a good business to be in. I think that it's oversold sometimes, but a larger bankroll is going to be a little bit easier to get your foot in that door.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if somebody was pressing me for an answer, one or the other. I mean, I'm pushing pretty hard on OA, because there are so many similarities, and I think starting out doing online arbitrage is going to make the conversations and your rebuttals to your future wholesale reps better, right? You're going to learn more. You're going to get the experience is going to help you when you finally do reach out and try to establish these relationships. OA can be done without any sales skills, but yet a lot of what you're doing with OA is going to translate into wholesale later on. In addition to, like I mentioned, the troubleshooting that you're going to have to go through with your orders and selling it, and going through that whole process, so you're going to learn more about it. You'll be better equipped when you finally do go into wholesale. Vast majority of the time, the bets are smaller, so the errors that you are inevitably going to make. I constantly say, I think every business person has their set of mistakes that they are going to make. So I think it's important to try to design those, so that when you make them, they are survivable, which has to do with the risks that you take on. And OA, being able to buy 5 units of something, it makes it so much easier, and the lesson that you'll learn and be able to apply in your business moving forward is going to be worth that cost by far, which isn't always the case with wholesale.
David, who runs the RA lead list? It is Steve French. And if you have not listened to the podcasts that we've done with Steve, the first one was with his wife, Alexa, and him, Steve. The second one was Steve alone, because Alexa's taken a step back from the Amazon business, because I think they've got 4 kids running around now. So Steve is doing 3.5 million. I think he might be on pace for 4 million in 2025. And he's basically a 1.5 man show. He recently brought like a prepper in. It's like maybe part-time or maybe 0.75 part of the time. And he does all the sourcing himself, and he runs, honestly, it's a fantastic lead list. Over like 300 leads every single month for RA, breaks it down by store, and just added in Walmart leads for anybody who's selling on Walmart as well. He's going to do 50 Walmart leads a month. And yeah, Luke, Steve is also just a good guy. Sometimes there's a certain subset of the community, the private label supremacists, and sometimes he really, knocks them on the chin. And it's my favorite when Steve does that.
Yep, he's not afraid. Let's repeat that, because because it's so awesome. I find it so inspiring. He's pushing 4 million in sales, and I I think he said it on the first interview, and I brought it up again on the second interview just because it's neon highlighted in my head when we talk to them. He's paying like 25 hours a week in help, but he's pushing 4 million in sales. I mean, the guy is a machine, and he does doesn't he do meetings and stuff and they have a whole Slack community that he runs with this lead list, and the guy is unbelievable.
Yeah, he is a machine. You know, I'm not a great sleeper, and I know he's not either, and he's always up before I am. I was up at like 5:45 this morning, and I saw that he had like already tweeted. So, let's see here. Ah, 88. Would it be wise to get my LLC, EIN, and reseller permit? In my opinion, yes. This should not cost you very much. You don't have to use a service to do it for you. Okay. Now, if you want, you can, if you want a registered agent or something like that. So it maybe not your address on all of that information. You want to hide behind something like that. That's fine. You can do that. Those are still fairly inexpensive. You should be able to do it for $200 or less plus an annual fee to the registered agent. But you can also just go to your Secretary of State's website, get your LLC information filled out, pay whatever fee it is for your state. Now, I'm lying to you. If it's California or a couple of other states, I think Texas, the fee might be a bit higher. But yeah, you should have an LLC from the get-go. This is going to allow you to get business credit. Make sure you're keeping track of everything. Those are all going to be important. You want to make sure you're separating your business finances and your personal finances. Your EIN and reseller permit, probably should get those. EIN doesn't cost you a penny directly from the IRS website. Reseller permit usually doesn't cost you a penny, or maybe it's a very small fee depending on your state. But it will allow you to go and buy tax-free from some stores. There are going to be some online that take it, like Walmart and Best Buy and places like that. There are going to be more in stores that take it. Everyone but Target, essentially, will probably accept it. You just need to make sure you're dealing with whatever state it is, and filling out whatever forms they need on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis for any sales tax. Yeah, Lounger. Yeah, we need to create a lazy RAers. Yeah, absolutely. I would totally be part of that. 888. How do I get the address to the Amazon warehouse where I need to send my products? They will tell you when you create your shipment. If you use a software, you're probably going to get like 3 different options of where to choose to send your stuff to. I've never created a shipment inside the new send to Amazon inside of Seller Central, so I'm not sure how that works, but they'll tell you where it goes. And I wonder if I could find a college student to work with to do RA shopping. Yeah, you probably could. I'm sure there's someone out there who'd love to just shop for a living. Lounger, have you researched a sleep stack with things like ashwagandha, magnesium? Yeah, I've read all that stuff. I'm weird. I try to put as little into my body as possible. Not that I'm like some health guru. I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah, you're one of those.
But yeah, I try not to do a ton. I try to take as few pills as I possibly can. I've always been this way. Like 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep when my weight is down is just what I need. All right. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns before I go pick up my son from an incredibly long sleepover? I text my son this morning. I'm like, hey man, you guys had fun? You do good? He's like, yeah. He's like, it was good. Pick me up at 7. I was like, okay.
I always have to wonder if can I trust that information? Like, you say pick you up at 7. Is
Right.
that what the kid's parents said? Do the parents know that too?
Right. Yeah. It's always something like that. 888. How much for the course? $397. I don't know. Replays are a little cheaper, I think. But I'm so bad at selling my own course, I'm not even sure what the replays cost. To be quite frank. But if you go to oachallenge.com, it's all over there. There should be a link down in the YouTube description. I hope. All right. Chris, why do people from Alabama like sandwiches so much?
I don't know.
They love anything inbred.
We just lost 2% of our audience.
Right? That's all right. Lost that many brain cells in the audience too. Boom.
Oh,
all right.
Wow. There you go.
Roll Tide.
Yeah. Good football. We like your football team.
Right. All right, guys. That's it. That's it for this Sunday. We're going to be back this Wednesday at 5:30 to do this all over again, and make fun of some other state that will no longer listen to us. All right. Have a great week, everybody. I hope you guys absolutely crush it, and I hope something good happens to you. Talk to you soon.